I've been playing Pokemon games since I was a kid, but I've never attempted a Nuzlocke. So, I decided Pokemon Scarlet would be the perfect opportunity to finally try one. If you don't know what a Nuzlocke is, the rules are pretty simple. You can only catch one Pokemon per area, and if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and you must release it. Since there aren't random encounters in Scarlet, I use a random number generator to determine which Pokemon I can catch in each new area. I should also mention that this is my first playthrough of Pokemon Scarlet, so besides a map to show the recommended level for each area, I was going into this Nuzlocke completely blind. And now that the rules are out of the way, let me tell you about the story of my first ever Pokemon Nuzlocke. I started my journey by choosing my starter Pokemon, a Quaxly who I named Sir Quaxlot II. Don't ask what happened to Sir Quaxlot I. I made quick work with my rival Nemona's Fuecoco, and then caught my first Pokemon, a Lechonk named Chonky. I met Koraidon, who led me to safety through a spooky cave where I caught Donald the Yungoos. After meeting Koraidon's trainer, Arvin, and beating him in battle, he just gave me Koraidon's Pokeball and ran away. In the next area, I caught Gina the Buizel and started decimating trainers to level up. Then, I had to fight Nemona for real. I was definitely a bit worried going into this fight because this is where my first attempt ended, but I was higher level this time and had 2 more Pokemon, so I felt ready for the fight. And yeah, I beat Nemona's ass easily this time. I was able to see more than the first area of the game. I entered Messagoza, a huge city where my school was located. On my way to school, I got jumped by Team Star, a group of students who dropped out of school, and Nemona taught me how to Terrastalize. This generation's fun gimmick where your Pokemon can become any type. I beat Team Star with my new ability, and then made my way to school. Once there, I got approached by several people for help. Nemona told me to take on all of the gyms so that I could eventually take on the Elite Four and become a champion rank trainer. Arvin tasked me with seeking out and defeating all of the Titan Pokemon, and a mysterious Cassiopeia asked me to help take down Team Star. After attending class for a single day, the school thanked me for my tuition money and told me to fuck off and do whatever I want out in the world. I made my way outside of Messagoza to the west and started my journey by catching Flames the Fletchling. I made my way around the new area, taking on trainers to get experience, until I stumbled across a trainer with a different colored text box. When I started battle with him, I found out that the different colored text box means that he was stronger than all of the other trainers in the area, and I was a bit underleveled. I took down his Psyduck pretty easily, but then he sounded a mash with a new Home Claws, and I lost Donald in the process of taking him down. I wasn't too upset about this loss, but I definitely didn't want to lose somebody this early in the playthrough. I made my way to the Cortando gym and easily swept Katie with the worked up Sir Quaxlot, getting my first gym badge of the run. In the next area, I caught a Squawkabilly who I named Iago, and took down the Stony Cliff Titan Cloth with a crit from Sir Quaxlot. I then made my way to Artisan, where I breezed through Gym Leader Brassius' first 2 Pokemon with Iago. I tried to finish off a Sudowoodo with a quick attack, but, to my surprise, it missed. I was very confused when this happened, until later when I learned that Iago's ability Hustle increases his attack power, but decreases his accuracy. But, despite almost losing Iago, I managed to defeat Brassius with no losses and got my second gym badge. I then caught Edison the Tadbulb, and started to really notice how strong Iago was, when a single aerial ace did about 60% of the Titan Bombardier's health. I defeated the second Titan with ease, and moved on to my first Team Star base. I one-shot Giacomo's Pawniard, and then I realized that the car that he drove around in was actually a Pokemon. Oh, that's a Pokemon. What the fuck? I managed to take down his Reverfroom without too much trouble, and the first Team Star base was no more. In the next area, I ran into a shiny Lechonk that I accidentally murdered by underestimating Iago's strength. No fucking shot! I really did not think a quick attack would kill it. I caught Dunce the Dunsparce, and then wandered a little bit out of the area and into the sea. I ran into a trainer out there and said this: I'm kinda scared to fight this guy. What if he's like level 30? Despite my concerns, I fought him anyways and found out that I should have trusted my gut. The trainer had a level 32 Veluza, while my team was in its mid-20s. After getting a couple of hits in, the Veluza lived with literally 1 health, and it ended up losing Chonky trying to take it down. The next gym was the Electric Gym, and Chonky was definitely my best bet in taking it down, so this loss definitely hurt. I caught a Magnemite named Magneto in the next area, and then made my way to the Lavincia Gym. Upon arriving, Nomona challenged me to a battle, and honestly, it was so easy that it gave me a lot of confidence going into the fight against Iono, despite 4 of my 6 Pokemon being weak to Electric. Dunce did really well at taking down Iono's first 3 Pokemon, but then she sent out Mismagius, a Pokemon that I was sure would have Levitate, rendering my only super effective move against Electric useless. I got pretty lucky when Mismagius' first 2 attacks missed, but Dunce also got paralyzed and confused, so it only got off 1 ancient power. Things started to look a lot worse when I realized that Mismagius' special attack would rise after each successful hit, and Dunce was not doing very much damage. I switched into Edison, hoping that he would be able to tank a few hits because he was an electric type, but I kind of forgot that Mismagius is usually a ghost type, and she just one-shot it with Hex. I sent back out Dunce, who also fell without being able to do any more damage. I sent out Flames next, hoping that I was either faster or would get lucky with Focus Band, neither of which happened. Genia was next, who managed to get Mismagius to about half health before dying. At this point, I only had Iago and Sir Quaxlot left, neither of which were faster than Mismagius. Iago was definitely stronger and had a better chance of dealing enough damage to kill Mismagius, so I sent him out and prayed that a quick attack wouldn't miss. Let's fucking go. It hit and was a crit, and I managed to squeak out a win against Iono, getting my 3rd gym badge. I definitely attributed a lot of my failure to the super easy Nemona fight before the gym. I feel like Nemona gave me false confidence. I was like, that was an easy ass fight. This gym battle will also be easy. And then it wasn't. After that battle, I only had 3 Pokemon remaining. Sir Quaxlot, Iago, and Magneto, who I brought from the box. So I set out to go to new areas to rebuild my team. I caught Dyson the Varoom, and then immediately lost Magneto because I couldn't run away from a Tadbulb with Mudshot. At this point, I was feeling pretty down and said fuck it, and just went to the Fire Team Starbase with just my remaining 3 Pokemon, not really caring if I made it out alive. So Quackslot made the fight against Mellow look very easy, and a second Team Starbase was defeated. I then continued my team building efforts and caught Star the Starly, Goat the Skiddo, and a shiny Stunky named Stank, who went to the box for now. Tinker the Tinkatink was added to the team, but soon after perished when catching a shiny Torkoal who I named Cole. The newly added Cole easily took down the Titan Earthworm, and there were only 2 Titans remaining. I caught a Grimer named Goob in the next area, and then took on Kofu at the Cascarafa gym. Goat made it look very easy. I caught Spider-Man and Spinops on the way to the Poison Team Starbase, and then swept Atticus with a worked up Sir Quacksalot. Hey, real quick, most of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you're new, or you've watched the videos and you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. It just takes a couple seconds and it would really mean a lot. Okay, back to the video. On the way to my next objective, Dyson got killed by a random trainer's Driflim, and Stank got added to the team. I then caught a Magikarp named Carpella and put it in the party to stop Sir Quacksalot from being too high level for the number of gym badges that I had. My next encounter was a Greavard, and while trying to focus on it to see its level, I got jumped by a level 75 Terra Lucario. Luckily, I had Carpella on my team, and I was able to sacrifice her and able to escape. I caught Lucy the Greavard, and made my way to Medali to challenge Gym Leader Larry. I started off with Goat and Leech Seeded as Kamala, but was immediately put to sleep. I stayed asleep until Kamala finally perished to Leech Seed. Goat hit Dunsparce for some decent damage, and then got hit by a crit and barely lived with just 4 health. I sent out Lucy, hoping Dunsparce would use a normal move, but I got hit by a Drill one instead. A player from Lucy almost took down Dunsparce, but I managed to just hang on. Not wanting to lose Lucy, I decided to send out all-reliable Iago and finish off Dunsparce and Staraptor with a few aerial aces, getting my 5th gym badge. Immediately after the gym, Nimona challenged me to another battle. I set the fuck up on her Locking Rock with Goat, bulking up 4 times, and then effortlessly swept her entire team. I had an extremely close call with the Hypno and almost lost Spider-Man on the way to the next gym, but I managed to survive with literally 1 health. The next gym was in Montenevera. This gym was a little different than the rest, and the battle was a double battle. Things started out pretty smoothly, as Spider-Man and Stank took down Burnett and Greavard relatively easily. I switched out Spider-Man for Goat as they were a bit wounded, and Rhyme had out Mimikyu and Toxicity. And then things took a bullshit turn. Suddenly, Ryan's Pokemon got all of their stats boosted from the crowd, which turned a non-threatening attack into a deadly one, and Stank fell. I managed to defeat Ryan without any more trouble, but losing a shiny Stuntank definitely hurt. My next stop was to the Titan Pokemon Great Tusk, which Sir Quacksalot took down without any trouble. I caught a Gabite named Fear on my way to the Alphanata gym, and upon arriving, Nimona again challenged me to a battle. I Leech Seeded her Lycan Rock with Goat, and then set in Sir Quacksalot and bulked up while Lycan Rock died to Leech Seed. Sir Quacksalot then one-shot the rest of Nimona's Pokemon, and I moved on to the gym leader, Chula. Spider-Man leeched life her first 2 Pokemon to death, and then Iago went in to defeat her last 2 Pokemon, getting me a pretty easy 7th gym badge. I then went directly to Glaciato to get my 8th and final gym badge from Crucia. I immediately trash-sliced Cole and took out the first 3 Pokemon, before sending out Sir Quacksalot to finish off the fight. Altaria fell, and all 8 gym badges were mine. I caught a shiny Cubchoo named Snot, and swapped out Spider-Man for Gabite, and then made my way to the Fairy Team Starbase to fight Ortega. This fight was pretty boring. I basically just kept bulking up with Goat, but Ortega kept using Charm to lower my attack. My attack was pretty low the whole time, but my defense was so high that any damage I took was immediately healed with Leech Seed, Leftovers, and Horn Leech. It took a while, but I eventually swept Ortega with Goat, and only 1 Team Starbase remained. On my way to the final Titan Pokemon, caught Villain the Veluza and Pikachu the Raichu. The false Dragon Titan Dodonzo fell to Goat, and the real Dragon Titan Tatsugiri also stood no chance, meaning that I had finally defeated all of the Titan Pokemon. Slackwing the Slacking was caught and sent to the box on the way to the final Team Starbase, where I fought Eri. Once again, this fight was very easy. I bulked up with Sir Quacksalot a few times, and then swept their entire team. And just like that, the Team Starbases were no more. After this, I made my way to the Pokemon Lab, where it was revealed that Professor Sada, Arvin's mother, was in Area 0, and she wanted us to find her and help her complete her research. Arvin then challenged me to a battle to see if I was strong enough to venture into Area 0. I set up with Goat, and then one-shot his entire team. I then headed to the academy, where I was to meet with Cassiopeia, the mysterious person who led me on my journey to defeat Team Star. Once I arrived, Director Clavel revealed that he was Cassiopeia, and he wished to battle me to finally end Team Star. I started out by, you guessed it, setting up with Goat. I took down Oranguru, and then Clavel sent out Abomasnow. At this point, I didn't realize that Earthquake was not very effective against Abomasnow, so I used it, fully expecting the Abomasnow to fall over dead. You should be dead. Oh, I forgot that's not very effective. Oops. It didn't even do half of its health. Goat then got absolutely obliterated by Blizzard. This was definitely the hardest loss of the run. Goat had truly been the GOAT, especially over the last couple of important battles. I had another sweep with Sir Quacksalot, but nobody had the sustain that Goat did. This is no time for mourning. I still have a battle to win. I sent in Cole to avenge Goat, and then Iago to try to do with Clavel's Gyarados. It got a hit in, and then narrowly avoided getting one shot by Stone Edge. I sent Lucy out next, who tanked an Aqua Tail pretty well. I then once again narrowly avoided death when Lucy lived a crunch with 22 health. Lucy then hit Gyarados with a Phantom Force, but it wasn't quite enough to take him down. I sent in Sir Quacksalot next, knowing that a not very effective crunch wouldn't do very much damage, and took down Gyarados with an Aerial Ace. Clavel's next Pokemon was Houndoom, who was easily one shot by Sir Quacksalot. Poltergeist was next, and felt just as easy as Houndoom. Clavel's last Pokemon was Meowscarada, so I sent out Cole, who handily took care of business. Finally, the big boss of Team Star, Cassiopeia, was defeated, and Team Star was no more. Oh. So actually, Clever was lying about being Cassiopeia for some reason, and I had to go to the schoolyard at night to fight the real Cassiopeia. Once I arrived, it was revealed that the true Cassiopeia was none other than my classmate Penny, a person I'm just now realizing I don't think I've even mentioned a single time. Whatever, this is a Pokemon game. I don't really care about the plot. Anyways, Cassiopeia, or Penny, or whatever you want to call her, had a team of entirely evolutions. She started out with Umbreon, and it started off by, big surprise, bulking up. This battle started off pretty similar to the fairy-based battle, where I just repeatedly bulked up, and my opponent repeatedly lowered my attack, so I was really just increasing my defense. Eventually, Penny got tired of this game and used Psychic, which luckily didn't do too much damage. This left me with a bunch of defense and a single attack up, so I just killed the Umbreon next turn. I ended up switching out to Quackslot anyways, because I didn't want to deal with Jolteon, so that whole back and forth was just a huge waste of time. Fear, finally a Garchomp, took down Jolteon. I tried to get in a cheeky Swords Dance against Vaporeon, and almost died through Aurora Beam, so I sent out Pikachu instead. I Nasty Plotted twice before annihilating Vaporeon, and I kept in Pikachu because I assumed that a double Nasty Plot Thunderbolt would be more than enough to kill the remaining evolutions. I was wrong. Somehow, Flareon lived and then proceeded to kill Pikachu. At least it killed itself from the recoil of Flare Blitz. I sent out Cole next, knowing that he could beat any of the evolutions left, and Leafeon got burned to a crisp. Penny then sent out her last Pokemon, Sylveon, who just couldn't do enough damage to the absolute tank that is Cole, and I finally defeated Team Star. For real this time. I replaced Pikachu with Snot, who evolved into a Beartic, and then made my way to the Elite Four. Upon arriving, I had to take a silly little test, and then faced off against my first opponent, Rika. As usual, I started off the battle by bulking up. Wishcatch used Future Sight, so I decided to just kill it and then switch out so Quackslot wouldn't have to eat the hit later. But then, I realized I could just Terrasilize Quackslot into a pure water type, so Future Sight wouldn't be super effective anymore. Damn, this mechanic is broken. Rika's Donphan lived in Aqua Step thanks to Sturdy and managed to get a hit in, but still fell easily. Though Trio and Camerupt went down without a fight, and then Rika sent in Clodsire. It started off with Protect, and next turn I hit with an Aqua Step, not knowing that his ability was Water Absorb. Luckily, Quackslot was able to tank an Earthquake, and then one-shot Clodsire with a close combat. And, just like that, the first member of the Elite Four was defeated. My next opponent was a literal toddler. Poppy started out with Copper Raja, who used Stealth Rock, and then got obliterated by an Eruption from Cole. Next up was Bronzong, who hit Cole with a pitiful Earthquake, and then got one-shot by Eruption. Corviknight came in and hit Cole with a Brave Bird, that still left me with over half health, and then the edgy bird perished to a Flamethrower. Magnezone proved a bit of a challenge, as, after setting up a light screen, it managed to deliver an attack from Cole, and then do a decent amount of damage and paralyze Cole. Cole managed to finish off Magnezone despite being paralyzed, and Poppy sent out her last Pokemon, Tinkaton. Tinkaton missed 2 Stone Edges and promptly died, meaning that half of the Elite Four were defeated. The third member of the Elite Four was a familiar face, Larry. This time, he had all new Pokemon. He started with Tropius, and I was Snot. I began by using Snowscape, which was immediately countered by Sunny Day. I immediately tried to change the weather back, but Tropius outsped me this turn and hit Snot with Solar Beam. It didn't do very much damage, but it was kind of annoying. I turned the weather back to Hail, and then spent the next turn using Swords Dance, while Tropius made it sunny again. I decided to just Swords Dance again next turn and eat the Solar Beam. Snot then killed Tropius with Icicle Crash, and then he sent out Staraptor, to which I said this. Oh god, this thing knows close combat, doesn't it? And for some reason, I decided to not switch out and try my luck at living or being faster, which obviously didn't work. I really don't know what I was thinking here. I mean, I literally knew what was going to happen and did nothing to prevent it. But oh well, we go next. I sent out Lucy, who ate a Brave Bird and almost killed Staraptor with a Crunch. I sent Fear next, who let Staraptor kill itself from the recoil of Brave Bird and Rocky Helmet. I sent Iago out to deal with Larry's Altaria, and then sent back out Fear for his Oricorio. Fear got confused, but managed to not hit itself and kill that tiny yellow bird. Though his last Pokemon was Flamigo, and I sent out Cole to deal with it. It barely poked Cole with close combat and then died to an Eruption. 3 Elite Four members down, 1 to go. I added Spider-Man back to the team after Snot's demise, and faced off against the final member of the Elite Four, Hassel. Lucy took down his Snorunt pretty easily despite getting hit with a crit, and then Fear one-shot Haxorus. Cole decimated Flapple, and Fear came back to deal with Dragalge. Hassel's last Pokemon was Baxcalibur, who just barely lived a Terra Dragon Claw from Fear. Fear lived an Icicle Crash and finished off Baxcalibur, meaning that I had defeated all of the members of the Elite Four. I wasn't done yet though. I still had to fight the champion of the Elite Four, Gita. Finally, a trainer with 6 Pokemon. Lucy started off the battle and one-shot Spartha with Phantom Force. Next was King Gambit, who stood no chance against the close combat from Quackslot that also happened to be a crit. Go-Goat was next on the chopping block, being burnt to a crisp by Cole. Avila came in and also got immediately incinerated. Veluza managed to hit Spider-Man with a Psycho Cut, but Spider-Man healed all of the damage from a Leech Life and took down Veluza. Gita's final Pokemon was Glamora, a Pokemon I had never seen before and also had no idea what type it was. So, I decided to send up my boys to Quackslot and just hit with a Terra Aqua Step. It worked out pretty well, and a second finished the job. Finally, I had defeated the Elite Four and the champion to become a champion-ranked trainer. There was only one thing left to do: journey to Area 0 and help Arvin's mom finish her research. Oh fine, I guess I'll whoop Nemona's ass one more time. That was way easier than any of the Elite Four fights. Anyways, now there was only one thing left to do. I met up with Arvin, Nemona, and Penny, and the 4 of us made our way into the mysterious Area 0 with the help of Koraidon. Upon arriving, Professor Sada told us to make our way to the lab in the deepest part of Area 0. On our way to the lab, we encountered several weird-looking Pokemon that were all very aggressive, including a normal-sized version of the one Titan Pokemon we fought. As I continued the trek, I encountered a shiny Gible, which I went ahead and caught, and finally, we arrived at the lab. As we opened the doors to the lab, suddenly another Koraidon appeared. Our own Koraidon visibly cowered away from this one, and it made its way into the lab. As we went to follow after, a bunch of the weird, scary-looking Pokemon ran out, and my friend stayed behind to hold them off while I went in to find Professor Sada. Just inside the lab was Professor Sada, alive and well. Just kidding, that's a robot, and the real Sada died years ago protecting our Koraidon from the other Koraidon. AI Sada called me here because the real professor created a time machine that's causing a bunch of Pokemon from the past to come here, but they were all super aggressive. So, AI Sada wants the time machine to be destroyed. They can't do it themselves because it's against their programming, so they had to get somebody else to journey down to Area 0 and do it for them. AI Sada then brought me to the time machine, but warned me that when I tried to destroy it, she would probably attack me because she's programmed to protect the time machine. Now that all the plot's out of the way, we can get to the final fight. About half of AI Sada's Pokemon were entirely new to me, so I had to guess their types as I went along. I started out the battle with Yago, and he started off by one-shotting Slitherwing. I kept Yago out for Fluttermane because I fought that one earlier and it died very easily. It was faster than me and hit Yago with a Thunderbolt that almost killed him, but he barely held on and one-shot Fluttermane. I sent out Fear next because I assumed that the thing called Sandy Shocks was probably an electric type. 2 Bulldozers did the job. Colt took down Screamtail after a few eruptions. Sussus Among Us, Brute Bonnet, did some decent damage to Cole, but stood no chance against a Flamethrower. AI Sada's last Pokemon was Roaring Moon, a fucked up looking Salamence. So I sent Lucy in to hit him with a Play Rough. Roaring Moon used Night Slash, a move that I was sure was going to one-shot Lucy. Oh yeah, nice focus sash. Lucy hit her Play Rough, and just like that, AI Sada was defeated, and I completed my first ever Nuz. Wait, what's happening? Suddenly, AI Sada was overrun by another program, the Paradise Protection Protocol. All Pokeballs except those registered by Sada were locked, meaning that we were helpless against the Koraidon that was thrown at us. How are we going to win this fight? Well, it's a good thing that my own Koraidon once belonged to Sada herself. I threw out Koraidon and hoped I didn't lose this fight, because I think that would technically end the Nuzlocke. Well, this fight's pretty cool in concept. I think it's literally impossible to lose. I should have died like 3 times, but Koraidon just held on so that I wouldn't be sad. Overall, a pretty anticlimactic last fight to end it on, and I feel like the previous fight would have just been a better ending than Nuzlocke. But anyways, I defeated the Paradise Protection Protocol's Koraidon. AI Sada regained control and decided to go through the time machine to the past, even though she wouldn't be able to return, and me and my friends all went home happily. Well, except Arvin. He was kind of bummed about the whole finding out his mom was dead thing, but the rest of us were pretty happy. And that was the story of how I beat my first ever Pokemon Nuzlocke, and a blind playthrough of Pokemon Scarlet at that. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, consider subscribing, it would mean a lot. But with that, thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.